Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. Glad to be back in the great US of A. It was a rough 22 days. I flew 33,000 miles to 4 different continents. Now I'm home. Made me miss the first game live. I got to watch like 2.5 quarters in the lounge in Sydney, Australia, and then rewatch it when I got back home. But that is over. It's back. Football in the homeland where it belongs.
Can a player get some frequent flyer miles?
I got those. I made Diamond on Delta before August was over. That's how much travel I did so far this year. It's not fun. Don't let anyone tell you travel is glamorous. It fucking blows. I'm just now not jet lagged 3 days later. Jeez. But what helped me not be jet lagged was celebrating a big win in week 1 over the Broncos. Rain goes down, dogs chase cats, and the Raiders make the Broncos their bitch. 7 in a row, the silver and black, over the Denver Broncos.
Smells good.
Even in not great seasons, we're never on the basement because you got the Denver Broncos at the bottom of the totem pole. So that leads to our first question of the day. Did the Broncos win change your outlook on the season? This has been a very polarized preseason where there's the big mix of preseason optimism. It's optimism season, right?
Yeah.
Every little thing you're looking at the most positive outlook. And then there's the mixture of, well, we fell apart last season. How much better is the roster? Did the rest of the teams in the AFC West get better? Sean Payton's now in the AFC West. The Chargers reloaded. The Chiefs are, the Chiefs, whatever. Like, oh, God, how are we going to do this season? All the experts are putting Raiders having like a top 6, top 5 draft pick. And we flew into Denver in Mile High and beat them 17-16. So did the Broncos win adjust your outlook on this season at all? Soto, you've been about as optimistic as any Raider fan can be this preseason. Did it change anything for you?
It kind of confirmed a couple of things. I did feel that we got a lot more talented on defense. Not that we got like more superstars or anything like that, but across the board, we got more talent. It did change a little bit. I think, because look, I've watched the game a couple times. I watched the game film. Sean Payton was able to do what he wanted to do. He was able to get the ball in space, one-on-one, his guy against our guy, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And our secondary especially did a really good job of tackling in the open field. And that's a big upgrade that I saw from last season was the secondary. And they made a lot of plays, man. So it wasn't that Russell sucked or, they're a shitty team or whatever. They were able to do what they wanted to do, the short timing offense, get the ball in space, one-on-one, stuff like that. They were able to do that. We just tackled them more than no yards after catch.
Their longest pass was 21 yards. That's it. And yeah. Russ was known for his long ball, right? That was always his big thing with Seattle. He's going to scramble and then chuck it, right? Anything else? Tackling was good.
Offensively, I think that we moved the ball every single drive except for one.
Mm-hmm.
We punted one time. We had a miscue in the red zone, in the end zone, which took away some points, or else we would have scored on every single drive that we wanted to score on, besides one. The last drive, we just were looking to run the clock out, and we did.
Mm.
But I think the offense looked good. Against a defense that I didn't give a lot of credit to before the game. Then I remember they had a couple of guys hurt in the middle of the season last year, and I'm like, okay. They're back, even though Randy Gregory really didn't do much. I'm cautiously
Chandler
optimistic.
Jones is basically invisible. Oh wait, yeah, Chandler.
Yeah, right. It's there's a lot of stuff to fix, but despite that, we still looked. I was telling Rory, it was like an efficient game, but an ugly game at the same time, where we were doing what we wanted to do, but we still showed a lot of things that we need to fix.
As Andrew Dice Clay said so famously, she didn't look like much, but she got me there. That was us. We got there. We got the dub. So did the Broncos win change your outlook on the season? Did you say, we got the win, but we scraped by. We're going to get screwed. Oh, my God, we were so much better than we thought. Or like, this is kind of the team I thought. Let us know. Comment section. Question of the day. We'll pin it down there. So Soto, because I was flying over the Pacific, I didn't get a chance to do the post show live. If you missed it, check it out. It's on Soto did it solo Soto. It was on the pod. It's on YouTube. It's everywhere. So what I looked at is like, look, it's Thursday now, 5 days removed from the game. Looking back, I think can be a waste of time. But when you look at main storylines and how that affects us moving forward, I think is what's most interesting midway through a week of the season. So there's four big storylines for me that I think should be addressed. That less importantly what it meant last week in Denver, but more importantly what it means for the team moving forward. First one, Jimmy G, I think, was about the best version of Jimmy G that we want to see, right? What he's good at, he excelled at. His flaws were very minimal. Generally, if you ask any Niners fan, at least the ones I've talked to, they're like, yeah, Jimmy G's pretty consistent, but he's good for 2 or 3 brain farts a game that can screw you. He really only had one. He had the interception in the end zone, right? Other than that, what was his second biggest error? A missed pass here or there? Like any
misread. He was a little late on a couple of throws. Other than that, no, there really wasn't much.
You couldn't look at Jimmy G and be like, oh God, he blew that one. Or like, oh, what was he thinking? Like there was no just like slapping yourself in the head at our quarterback, other than the one interception. Honestly, the second worst thing was when he ran for a first down in the first quarter. And I was like all of Raider Nation's buttholes puckered. You're like, oh God, he's gonna get hurt. And then he was fine. And we got a penalty. Sorry, everyone in Raider Nation but you, Soto, because you say he's not injury prone. But the rest of us were like, oh God.
Like he's got the sticker on him that he's injury prone. Yeah, a linebacker with a guy's wrapped around your waist and a linebacker elbows and knees you in the back of the head. That makes you injury prone.
Well, same thing happens to every quarterback, and he's the one that gets.
Oh yeah, does it happen to every quarterback? Show me.
Oh yeah.
Show me what happened last week to other quarterbacks.
Okay. He was super efficient, 20 of 26, a couple drops in there as well. We're not going to
give him that. I'm not going to start that. Fuck the drops. Shit happens.
Yep.
Guys make plays on bad throws, and guys drop easy passes. It evens out.
Okay. Well, I will say that there were some drops. And his long was the same as Russ, was only 21 yards. So again, that's what Jimmy G does. Distribute the ball to your playmakers efficiently, buy time in the pocket, which he did fantastic. If you have to, he could run a little bit. This was the Jimmy G that we were hoping for. This was the version of Jimmy G running Josh McDaniels' efficiency offense. Other than the one big brain fart, pretty bad, right? Interception in the end zone is no good. Yeah. Other than that, played great. And exactly how we need him and wanted him to play great.
Yeah, look, it wasn't the decision to throw it so much wasn't bad. It was who the target was. He wasn't throwing it to a receiver. He was throwing it to a small Abdullah who had a guy draped on his back. If he would have thrown it to a receiver, that would have been a receiver or a tight end. Okay, that's a different story. But he fires it high to a running back. Maybe not the best decision to try to fit that one in there.
He was playing with the gusto of a guy that got laid last night. You know what I mean? He's like,
at least twice.
I can make that. I can make that throw. I feel like it's going to be like
tighter spots than that.
I feel like it's going to be, like when you you move to a new area, move to a new city, or, you get transferred to a new school and you're like, all right, there's new chicks everywhere. They don't know what a dog I am. They don't know my history. They don't know any of that. And you have extra pep in your step, I feel like that's Jimmy G in Las Vegas. He's like, all right, I cleaned house in Massachusetts, cleaned house in the Bay Area. Now I'm in Vegas. Now these chicks everywhere. got pep in his step. You know what I mean? Like the sun's shining, there's birds chirping. That's him with the ladies, and he's playing that way.
Yeah, every year he gets a year older, and they stay the same age.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. The second storyline I want to follow throughout the season. Defense was phenomenal where it matters the most, and not great anywhere else, which is a weird thing. Normally with the defense, it's like all the little things add up and turn into a good result. In this case, the result was fantastic. 16 points allowed. You know how many times the Raiders allowed 16 or less points last season? Do you know off the top of your head, Soto?
Probably 0.
Twice.
Once.
And one of them was Denver, right? We keep shitting on Denver's head because they suck. Only twice, all last season, 16 or less, and one of them was 16, right? So this is great. Like again, our defense has been atrocious for 20 years. It's not going to turn around and be a top 5 defense overnight, right? Incremental improvements is what we're looking for, and holding a team to 16 is phenomenal. If we do that every game, we're going 13-4. 14-3, right? If we can hold, and also think of this. Last season we played 7 of the 8 worst offenses, and still could only hold offenses to teams to 16 or less twice, and we did it out of the gate this season.
Yeah, it's encouraging that we tightened up where we needed to, and not just in the red zone, not just on points, but on big plays. There's a reason why Russ only threw a deep pass once. He only threw that one moon ball one time, and that's because he had guys covered. There was not an opportunity to throw it. Yeah. So he took the over the middle stuff, the underneath stuff, and we ran up and tackled. So it's a lot more than just we didn't give up the points. It's how we didn't give up the points. Yeah, they were able to move the ball down the field, but if you dink and dunk down the field, you're forcing the opposing offense to be pretty damn near perfect in execution a lot more often to just chunk it down the field, right?
Clutch plays at crucial moments, I think, was the big part, right? Like, there's a completion on 3rd and 7, you tackle them after 5. There was a lot of that.
A lot of athletic guys flying to the ball, being in position. Yeah, it was good.
How about Maxx Crosby? I think it was in the second quarter where there was one drive that he single-handedly pushed them out of field goal range. Like they were in field goal range.
He got held, right?
He gets held. He still made the tackle. Gets held, makes the tackle, then gets a sack, and then I think he flushed Russ out of the pocket and he had to throw it away. He single-handedly not only stopped a drive, but pushed them out of field goal range. God, he's such a beast. Nate Hobbs, 12 tackles. And when a cornerback has that many tackles, you're like, oh, that's not good. That means guys are, they're getting passes completed and he's tackling them. No, he had tackles for loss, stops at the line, stops before the sticks, like good, like not just volume tackles because he's we always talk about like when your safety has the most tackles on the team, that's generally a bad sign.
It's not always a great thing. Yeah.
It's not always a great thing because you're getting, you get into the third level. Nate Hobbs, because he plays slot and plays so well against in the line of scrimmage. These were quality like play altering tackles.
Yeah, this is one of there was 2 big adjustments that I saw at halftime. The first one offensively.
Pause for effect.
All right.
Let the drama germinate.
Popped up on my screen like it was my computer was going to turn off. No, the first one offensively was we used a lot more motion to get favorable matchups to our receivers, and it was almost like, all right, now you move this way. Okay, now it's like we're playing Jenga. We're just moving stuff around, and okay, now here's the matchup I like. We didn't do that in the first half as much as we did in the second half. And defensively, we pretty much lined up Nate Hobbs as a linebacker. We put him close to the line of scrimmage in the second half, and it burned us one time when Spillane couldn't get out on the edge on a pass play. It was a big third down conversion for them, but that's really the only time it really bit us. Everything else was positive from Hobbs.
And Diablo also, I think, was the third best guy on the defense. Just, again, kind of doing everything. He had tackle for loss, pass defended, second most tackles. And he has the coolest name on the team. Forced fumble. And he has the coolest name on a team with a team full of cool names. So I'm really happy that Divine Deablo is doing well. Because
I'm actually very pleased with Jacorian Bennett too. I know he got called for a couple of penalties, but dude, he's a rookie, man. That shit's gonna happen with a rookie. Like we have to just expect that he's gonna get some penalties called on him, especially the first half of this season. But he's a good fucking tackler, man. He made I think he had like 8 or 9 solo tackles, like something like that. I think he was the second leading tackler in the team.
Well, he kind of leads into the other element of this. So the only stat that matters is points given up, and it's 16. But the things that get you there, I raised my eyebrow. I was like, how did we get there? No picks, no fumble recoveries, only 2 sacks, some awful penalties at terrible times, like really, really bad. We're talking about how clutch some of these tackles were. Some of these penalties were just begging the Broncos to stay in this game.
Yeah.
And half the defense was completely invisible. Like, as good as Maxx, Deablo, and Hobbs played, Bilal Nichols and Byron Young, they combined for 55 snaps. You know how many tackles they got combined?
Probably 2.
1.
Oof. I don't doubt
2
it.
starting defensive tackles, not doing anything at all. Just brutal. And then Tyree Wilson. I mean, again, we've been saying forever, it's going to be slow developing. We didn't draft him to fix the defense week 1. We fixed him to be a cornerstone for the next 10 years. But maybe a little something. He had 1 partial tackle with some pretty significant snaps. There were just a lot of guys. Trevon Merrick had some pretty bad brain farts. He couldn't cover the tight end.
He played okay. He had some iffy plays, but I think Merrick played all right.
Yeah. So moving forward, I think it's important because now that, offensive coordinators are looking at that, defensive tackles aren't going to do shit. They can't cover tight ends. There's going to start being adjustments made. So hopefully Patrick Graham is seeing what we're seeing, and certainly what the Bills offensive coordinator and everyone else is looking at, of like, we can run up the middle because the 2 D tackles are just the invisible man. They're Kevin Bacon. What was that movie in Kevin Bacon? It was he was the invisible man. That was the very first movie my then girlfriend, now wife, rented from Blockbuster. Was that shitty movie? Because I was like, I want to rent like a semi-scary but not too scary movie that's kind of intriguing but not too intriguing, because I'm trying to get a makeout session going.
Yeah.
Hollow Man. Hollow Man. Mission accomplished. I married her. Thank you, Kevin Bacon.
It's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You're in that now,
right?
Well,
so yeah, again, the biggest thing that matters: 16 points allowed, bitches. Is it sustainable? There's some obvious things that need to improve for it to stay. There's some things that need to improve for it to stay sustainable.
Well, the thing is that I talked about last week was how a lot of these defenses are being constructed in the NFL. These top end teams, they're saying, okay, we're going to have our 1, 2, 3 really high top end players that everyone else is just good. They're serviceable. They do their job. And that's what we saw here. We saw our 3 best defenders play the best. Deablo, Hobbs, and Crosby play the best. And everyone else just did their job. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't, but they got stops when they needed them, especially late in the game. So I think that's what we're going to have to get. Not everyone can have like a Niners defense where like pretty much you have like 2 guys on every level that are amazing, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to do that. But if we can get one guy, now we have one guy on each level, right? That is played a pretty high level. If we can have that and can have no one else be like a complete stinker, maybe not stat wise, but like be super out of position, just get totally, railroaded out of their spot, I think we could be all right. That's where the NFL is going now because of, how much the top end players are making, because you need top end players to win, and how much those guys are making. Yeah, you can only have a couple of them.
The big thing is, to me, is if the turnovers start going our way. If we can start like having not passes bounce off our DB's hands, fumble recoveries that are taken back because of stupid penalties, like that's, I think, when the defense really
that shouldn't even been a penalty, man.
Yeah,
James Lofton jumped on that right away. He's like, no, he's out of the pocket. He's allowed to do that.
Yeah,
and we saw the replay. And I was like, shit, he's right.
Yeah. The other storyline, and it's something we talked about preseason. Hunter Renfrow. There's a great short that we have. We're pumping up our own stuff, but there's a great short on our channel about Hunter Renfrow talking about when he was under John Gruden. He was trying to do exactly what Gruden wanted, and he wasn't doing well. Once he started doing things his own way, he became a Pro Bowler, 100 catch guy. And had a great couple seasons, one really, really good season. And so we know that Josh McDaniels, as an offensive coordinator in New England, is phenomenal at adjusting his offense to his personnel. Like when they were running through quarterbacks, they're still finding ways to move the ball. As the head coach, we haven't seen it quite yet. Hopefully, this is the season that it happens. So we talked about this preseason, one of the tiny little dichotomies, a little like baby science experiment that we can do is, how does Josh McDaniels and Hunter Renfrow's relationship work? Because Renfrow made it pretty clear that if he's put into a box, he's not that effective. If he's able to have some freedom, he can be great. Can they find a middle ground? Someone gives somewhere. Where can that be? And we're not going to talk about it every single game, but when it's drastic one way or the other, it's worth bringing up. And this was an obvious one. Hunter Renfrow, only 13 snaps, 0 targets. Not what we were looking for as far as this experiment is going.
At least not what we expected.
Yeah.
So I think we have to look at it from this perspective, this is a perspective that you can look at, or a perspective that you maybe want to just think about for a second. It's possible that Jakobi Meyers is just a better player than Hunter Renfrow. Mm-hmm. It's possible. And sure. by better, I mean,
in this offense.
He runs this offense better than Hunter Renfrow runs in this offense. It's a possibility. I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no. I'm saying it's a possibility. With that being said, he scored 2 touchdowns and dropped the third this last game. Are you going to give him less targets? Are you going to take targets away from Davante Adams? We're not throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game like we did in previous seasons. That's not what we're doing anymore. Mm-hmm. It's a different style of offense now. It's more run centric, and when you give up a lot of when you're playing defense the way we play defense, kind of like sticks defense. Okay, you're gonna get over the middle stuff. That's fine. We're not gonna let you go deep. It tends to prolong drives a little bit, so it may cut down on some of our opportunities to have offense, our drives. That's a big thing. We talked about it. And it's not just how can Josh McDaniels incorporate Hunter Renfrow, but how can Hunter Renfrow incorporate himself in the offense as well? It goes both ways.
It's two-way street. It's two-way street for sure.
And one thing that we really need to take a look at is the previous seasons, Hunter Renfrow, before he had that huge breakout season, he was just like, 35, 40, maybe 60 catch guy. When he got hot, his quarterback, who was very comfortable with him, basically was the offensive coordinator and could do whatever he wanted. And he had full control of the offense. He knew exactly what plays to call to highlight the one guy he had a lot of comfort throwing the ball to, right? Which was Hunter Renfrow. Ruggs was gone.
Everyone was hurt. Everyone was hurt.
Yeah. Waller was hurt to end the season. Ruggs was gone. Who else did we have that year? Aguilar, right? Aguilar was doing his thing on the other side, but he was really comfortable with Hunter Renfrow. He was able to change plays out the line because he had a full control of the offense to target this specific guy. Now, if that's what you need to be that type of player, I'm sorry, we have Davante Adams for that. You have to play a different role now. So I understand that we need to offensively, as Josh McDaniels as a coach needs to find ways to get him the ball, but he also has to find a niche in this offense. And that Hunter Renfrow guy, that we already have a guy like that. He can't be that guy for us anymore.
Well, yeah, he's not going to get 130 targets this season, but he got 0. And that's the thing. Like, he is a Pro Bowl wide receiver who knows how to get open with very, very good skills. And you're right. Like, look, and there was a lot of 21 formations as well, right? So it's not
a lot of 6 offensive linemen.
But counterpoint, DeAndre Carter had 11 snaps as a slot receiver. We can argue if Jacoby's better than Hunter potentially. Carter ain't better than Hunter. And Hunter got 2 more snaps than DeAndre fucking Carter. So look, if we would have scored 40 points on Saturday, I would have said, kick rocks, Hunter. We got a system that works. Yeah. And it obviously doesn't need you, right? We did only score 17, right? It was the win and it was efficient. I'd like more, right? We need, it'd be nice to get into the 20s. High 20s. Why not? Right? Let's shoot for it, right? If the offense was just humming fantastic, this would be a much smaller issue. But 2 things. We only scored 17, and Jakobi Meyers is in concussion protocol right now. He may not play on Sunday, right? Josh McDaniels and Hunter Renfrow need to get on the same page. Whether that's Josh McDaniels' page or Hunter Renfrow's page, it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. It needs to happen. It needs to happen, especially if Jakobi's going to miss time.
I mean, if you look at it like this, we had 6 drives in the game. Mm-hmm. We scored on 3. We had an interception in the red zone, so that should have been a 4th score, right? We punted once, and then we ran the clock out. Mm-hmm. So those are the 6 drives we had in the game. I'm interested out of those snaps. I'm interested to see how many of those DeAndre Carter snaps were run plays as opposed to pass plays. Because I want to see how many routes they ran, right? Because that can tell you more information as well. The offense is already input. The offense is already set. The offense is already implemented. Okay, we're going to adjust things here and there. But if you're going to adjust things here and there, you're not going to adjust things here and there for a second receiver. You're going to adjust things to get your superstar more targets and more balls. This is going to be primarily up to Hunter Renfrow to fit into the system that we have right now, because he's never going to have that same opportunity that he had a couple of years ago, where he's going to get the bulk of the targets and he's going to have a quarterback that's going to change plays specifically to get him the ball.
The greatest head coaches know how to get the most out of their players, and it's just not getting out of Hunter. And Hunter's part of it as well. Definitely part of the equation, unquestionably. But
I'm not spending all that mental effort to try to get Hunter Renfrow the ball. I'm going to spend that time and effort to get my big playmaker the ball.
Well, then you're wasting a great asset if you're not putting some effort into a Pro Bowl slot wide receiver.
I didn't say that we don't put any effort into him. I'm not saying that at all. But it's a two-way street, and what I'm hearing from you primarily is the best coaches have to do this. Also, best players find a way to make things happen.
It's hard when you're not getting any targets as a wide receiver. It's not like he's a linebacker that can just make plays.
How open was he? I mean, look, you're missing. There's a lot of things you're not missing. You're not highlighting. How often was he open?
DeAndre Carter got 2 less snaps at the position.
Again, how many of those plays were pass plays?
That's a big deal.
How many of the plays were run plays?
And let's say the whole point of Josh McDaniels not incorporating Hunter Renfrow because they want to trade him, right? Comes with a heavy price tag. Jakobi Meyers is cheaper. Let's say that's part of his plan, right? He wants to move on from Hunter Renfrow, get something for him. Then you're going to want him to get some passes. You're going to want him to look good before the trade deadline. And again, it's not drastically altering it to cater to Hunter Renfrow, but he's a Pro Bowl slot wide receiver who knows how to get open.
That's the only time he's shown he was a Pro Bowler, when the offense was basically catered around getting him the ball.
Because he always got open. If you let him loose, he always gets open.
Okay, so sorry. You're talking about like not using your assets. You're paying $30 million to the number 1 wide receiver in the league. Let's not get you the ball. Let's change what we're doing to make sure we get Hunter Renfrow the ball.
No, keep doing everything you're doing. Just let Hunter Renfrow have some freedom because it's proven to work. Keep having the same scheme. You should throw the ball to Davante far more.
Passes. Our quarterback completed 80% of his passes. It wasn't like he was throwing the ball all over the place and throwing the guys that are covered just to not throw it to Hunter Renfrow. He was throwing to guys that were open.
We scored 17 points, which
we had 6 drives, RJ.
Okay. Maybe you can throw some deeper passes, have some shorter drives, right? Like that's also part of it. It's 17. Like, what do we talk about? What's the only that matters to the defense? We only let him score 16. What's the only that matters with the offense? We scored 17.
We scored one more than that,
which is all we needed. If we scored 40, this would be a moot point. We'd be like, do exactly what we're doing, right? And the second part of this will come to the next storyline. Is like, look, offense won. We only need to score one more point than the opposing offense. But moving forward, it'd be nice to get into the 20s. Hey, hell, 30s, right? Let's see if we can do that. Which leads to the fourth storyline. The offensive line was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. They were phenomenal in passing protection. I know you guys, I don't really care about PFF. Some of you guys do. They were second in PFF's grade for efficiency rate. They surrendered only 3 pressures on 29 dropbacks. No sacks.
They gave him 2.9 seconds to throw. That's a lot.
And even when Jimmy G-string was like, feeling some pressure, it was always like, all right, here's one guy I can wriggle away from. It was never just
I can still slide. I can still make some
let me hit a couple steps. Like, we're giving you some, we might have got kind of beat, but we're giving you some lanes. Pass protection was insane. Absolutely incredible.
Very good. It was so very good.
And with, a quarterback that's definitely not injury prone, it's nice. It's nice to have that.
Dylan Parham, man, can we talk about him a little bit? He played phenomenal. Mm-hmm. He played really well in pass protection. It's refreshing when you don't have to stick your finger in the dike, right? I know you like that one. I'm
more of a fist in the dike kind of guy.
I bet you are. With bars, when you have a guy opposite who can pass block as well in Van Roten, I mean, he did a good job too, pass blocking wise. So, yeah, man, they played really well. I like how Dylan Parham played. He played really well,
and most importantly, they played great as a unit. I think that's what this offensive line was designed to be. Not a group of individuals, but it's like, all right, we're going to throw some pieces together that, maybe some cast-offs, some young guys, but we'll make them work together as a unit, and that's what we saw. Which is so crazy because on the other end of things, in the run blocking, they were awful. Absolutely awful. Josh Jacobs had 2.5 yards per carry. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, man, that's bad. How everyone else do? The team averaged 2.1 yards per carry. So it's not even like, Josh Jacobs, he didn't, he skipped training camp. He barely practiced. He's just getting his legs under him. Nope. He still did better than everybody else that carried the football. And to give you an example of that, week 1, most avoided tackles as a running back. A handful of guys had 5. 2 players had 6. John Robinson had 7. Oh, look, who's at the top of that list? Josh Jacobs. 8 avoided tackles. The most of any player, not just running back, any player in week 1, and he still only got 48 yards on 19 carries.
Get out of here.
And your cat hates that as well.
Dude, that's from Jahmyr Gibbs, dude. He had 5 of them, and he only had 9 touches. Yeah. There's a good young running backs in the league, man. But look, there's Josh Jacobs said so himself, and Josh Jacobs is a good teammate. Right? He's not going to throw anyone under the bus. He's gonna say he's not just going to say, "Oh, it's all about me." He's going to say specific things that he needs to do better. Mm-hmm. And he said that he did feel like his timing was a little bit off, and that he needs to do a better job. There was a couple of things where he saw lanes a little bit too late, and he wasn't able to take advantage like he wanted to or he normally would. Now, this is him being a good teammate. How much of that is him being a good teammate, and how much of that is the actual facts? Time will tell. But that's one thing that we did talk about. I wasn't afraid of him not being in shape. I was afraid of his timing being a little bit off.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a reason why players practice and have training camps and preseasons because it makes you better, and he didn't do it. But that to me sounds a lot like Maxx Crosby on a day where the Raiders give up 30. He's like, I just got to work harder. I just got to do. It's like, no, Max, you're not the problem. Week 1, it was the O-line. I mean, look, maybe I'm sure every quality player, especially an all-pro like Josh Jacobs, especially a hardworking, teammate-oriented, fucking salt-of-the-earth motherfucker like Josh Jacobs is going to go back in that tape and dissect what he could have done better. However, it's hard to do that when you're getting hit 3 yards into the backfield semi-consistently. There was one play where like of those 8 avoided tackles, it was like 3 of them on one play, and he got like 2 yards. Like he had to break 3 tackles just to get to the line of scrimmage. This poor and we go back to, last time, look, hey, 17 points. Like, we scored on, almost every drive. It's like, we need to get the run game going too. Like the run game cannot be 2.1 yards per carry as a team with a $12 million running back. Unacceptable. Like that does need to be fixed. And it's so crazy because you want to come down on the O-line, but their pass protection was so amazing. So it's like, are we going to, and that's the big storyline for me was this just a week 1 thing and the run game will get on course like we hope to? Or is this going to have to be a team that throws the ball 42 times a game because we can't run? Mm-hmm. That's a drastic difference, right? That's when it's like, okay, we are going to need Hunter Renfrow to get 8 targets a game. We are going to need all these wide receivers to stay healthy because we can't run. And that's what we saw in week 1.
Well, one thing in the post-game show that I brought up is Josh McDaniels needs to do a better job of disguising his plays. It was pretty obvious when he was going to run the ball and pretty obvious when he was going to pass the ball. I think that's something to do with it.
You mean 2 tight ends and a fullback was a dead giveaway?
With a fucking 6 offensive linemen. Look, also, this offensive line, it showed that they are who they are pass blocking wise. Because last year they were a pretty good pass blocking team as well. They led the league in time to throw for the quarterback. So this is who they are, right? This is not who they are run blocking wise. They're better than this. I just think that the coaching staff needs to help them out a little bit. Maybe the game plan was a little bit too simple. Maybe change some formations sometimes, some personnel groupings to kind of give it a little bit more of a disguise. But definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm always going to look at the players first because they're the guys on the field. They need to execute. But there is some things that the coaching staff can do to help them out.
So those are the 4 storylines I saw moving forward out of week 1. Jimmy G being his best self, swagging around like his dick got wet.
Honestly, like I think that's him. I mean, his best self. He doesn't get too much better than this. But this is
that's my point. That's my point. Is like this is the Jimmy G. Just get it out to your playmakers, protect the ball. But his brain farts were down because I remember like all my Niner friends are like, look, he'll give he'll do a lot of good things, but he'll make you fucking kick, punch a hole in your drywall 2 or 3 times a game. He only had 1 of those, which was big. Yeah,
I mean, a better game than this would be Jakobi Meyers caught that 3rd touchdown pass. Yeah, that's what makes it better. It's not like it's not going to be drastically better. It's just a drop or a catch. That's what's going to be the difference, right? But by and large, this is what we're going to see. This is what we're going to get from this guy. He's not going to throw for 1,000,000 yards. He's not. That's not who he is.
Well, and that parlays into the second storyline where that last possession was a time killer as opposed to we need 7, right? Because we held him to 16, right? So that's all kind of playing off each other because we're not always gonna be able to hold him to 16. Like that last drive, it might, all right, 2-minute drill, Jimmy G. Like we need 7.
This time
there's 2 minutes left, right? Like that's what $33 million buys you.
Yeah, man. 2 amazing drives to end the game. A touchdown drive and then a 5.5-minute drive to seal the game. Mm-hmm. We haven't had one of those since like 2000. Mm-hmm. We had a lead and we killed the clock. It's
twofold, right? We never have leads that late in games.
No, I wouldn't say never, but when we did, we continually gave the ball back to the offense. Mm-hmm. We didn't have that skill or that ability to eat the clock. It's like in wrestling. If you're a wrestler who's like better when he's super aggressive, he's not going to be a guy that can stall really well when he's up in points because that's just not what he does well. He's a good, once you get up on points, you got to be able to stall a little bit because if you still stay aggressive, you leave openings for yourself.
Look at you putting in terms I can understand.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah. Let me try to do it with you. When you're making out with a cat.
Asshole.
Okay. Second storyline, defense was awesome where it mattered most. Terrible everywhere else. How can it be sustainable? The Hunter Renfrow watch. We'll see what that means. And is the offense going to have to adjust to the O-line, or the O-line adjust to the offense? These are all storylines that I saw coming out of week 1. The biggest storyline, though, motherfucking Raiders, number 1 in the AFC West. Chiefs fell Thursday night. Chargers fell to the Dolphins, and the Broncos lost to us. Let's just have a fun little circle jerk on what's wrong with the rest of the AFC West. The Chiefs, is it as simple as they just missed the tight end that will go unnamed? Is it that simple?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is, because I don't know if we can appreciate how good a football player he is. Not just a tight end, not just a pass catcher, but how smart and how good. He's a former quarterback. He understands how offenses work. He understands how defenses play against his offense and what they want to do against the offense that they're playing. He is that security blanket when everything else is kind of unraveling around him, that where Mahomes can throw to. He doesn't have that. Without that, the rest of his weapons just are whatever. They're not all that good. And it's not just the fact that he garners so much attention and he allows the other players to be, more open. It's the fact that with that attention, he can still get open, especially late in plays.
And everything you said is true. And I would say even like the biggest trump card on all that is not just being good, but he just like jives with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes so well on what they want him to do. Like
he's a quarterback mind.
When Mahomes,
like quarterbacks.
When Mahomes moving around, Kelsey's like, I know exactly where to go. And you could see it like in Patrick Mahomes' eyes on week 1. He's just like, where are you? I need you. I can't find you. He's like a little kid who lost their mom in the mall. It's just like, where's my tight end? Where are you? And you just saw it in his eyes.
There was a meme that I saw. I sent it to you, I think. It had when Daniel Jones's wide receiver 1 and 2 were the same wide receivers that Mahomes had, but they were his 3 and 4 wide receivers. It was like Daniel Jones can't get it done, but when it's Mahomes, it's all he needs more help.
Yeah.
The
excuses for Mahomes will never end.
The tight end that will remain nameless is that important. That's why they didn't pay the big money to Tyreek Hill, because it's tight end that makes that whole thing run. If without that, the other receivers and Kadarius Toney just dropping everything in sight. Mm-hmm. With all that, again, you can be the greatest quarterback in the world. The guys still have to catch the ball.
The chart. Speaking of Tyreek Hill, him and the Dolphins put up
a game
36 on the Chargers. Brandon Staley, coach of the Chargers, defensive genius. He's all about the stats. He's all about the numbers. He's the wonder kid. Tua put up 36 on them this weekend or last week.
That offense is scary in Miami, man.
That offense is really, really good.
They're super fast. They're fast everywhere.
I keep saying it, man. I've been saying it for 2.5 seasons. Thank God Brandon Staley is a media darling. It's starting to fade. But thank God
they're starting to get sick of it. Yeah,
starting to fade. Thank God he was, because it's buying him more time in LA. Because the Chargers have arguably a top 5 talented roster. Every position and every important position, right? Quarterback, pass catcher,
tackle, running
back, like every important position. They've got
2 defensive
Pro Bowlers, and they have
backers.
Depth and everything. Thank God Brandon Staley wasted that championship window of having their quarterback on the rookie contract. I still say that's what's wrong with the Chargers, is Brandon Staley just can't take a top 5 talent roster and do anything with it.
It's a shame, man. It's really a shame, but not really. Because
it's a shame I'm not going to cry any tears for.
It's a shame that I don't really give a shit.
Broncos. I have trouble putting my finger on this one, because Russ was better, but not Russ. The Sean Payton, maybe it's just going to take him more time to turn around a franchise like this, because the pockets are deep. Sean Payton's top 3 coaches in the NFL right now, I think. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. I was so scared when he came into the AFC West. I can't put my finger on what's wrong with the Broncos.
I think I don't know that their skill position players are as good as people give them credit for, and I've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
They got rid of one of their best receivers in Noah Fant, and he goes to Seattle where they have 2 top fucking receivers already. He's not gonna get the ball out. They need more of a blocking back for the running game. So it's about situations too. It's not just about the player and about the coach. It's about the situation that you're in. And I mean, say what you say about Sean Payton. He had some pretty damn good targets up there in New Orleans. His whole time there, he had really good offensive weapons up there. And also
all over the place too. Receiver, tight end, out of the backfield.
You know, and then you go over and you go to Russ. Russ had some pretty damn good targets and pretty damn good weapons in Seattle too that allowed him to play the way he wanted to play, a little bit more free, a little bit more loose. I don't know that he's able to do that and have the confidence in his weapons, especially with Jerry Jeudy out. It was just he didn't have the guys to throw to.
In Raider news, Sam Webb, I would say, was probably top 3. No one not making the 53 knocked me off my chair, but Sam Webb was one where I was like, okay, I thought for sure he'd make the roster. And so did the Carolina Panthers, obviously, because we sounded the practice squad. Panthers picked him up. He played all 17 games for us last season, started 3, didn't make the roster, now is a Panther. I would have really liked to keep him for depth because I think our DB room is still – we have a ton of them, but it's still figuring itself out depth-wise. We know who the four starters are, right? No doubt about it. After that, I'm kind of like, I think there's still competition going on. It's a bummer. I would like to keep him.
I mean, it's nice, but again, you're going to have your main guys and then the guys that do their job underneath them. We also lost what's his name?
Ben,
the undrafted free agent.
Jeff, Todd,
what's
Archibald,
the guy?
Rudiger,
the undrafted
Soto,
free
Randall,
agent.
Clifford.
God damn you.
Ramirez.
What's his name? The guy, the guard
Bill.
from the small school
Frank.
that we got.
Todd.
It's stopped being funny a long time ago.
Kevin. Butch.
You done?
I'm just trying to help you out, dude. You asked me a question.
The guard that we got as an undrafted free agent that was on our practice squad.
I don't remember.
Seattle picked him up. God damn it, my fucking brain.
Nottingham.
You know who I'm talking about, man.
Dwayne.
Everyone who's watching this is like, Soto, you're
Jordan.
so fucking stupid. It's this guy.
Jules. Start with the J.
Fuck.
Jack. Jerkface.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
You're going to wake up in the middle of the night tonight screaming his
McClendon
name.
Curtis.
Hey, did I say Curtis?
No, you didn't say any of that.
I didn't say Curtis.
Yeah, McClendon Curtis got picked up by the Seahawks. They lost one of their offensive guards for the season, and they picked him up off the practice squad. So he's got to go on their 53, and we'll go from there. But I mean, again, he was an undrafted free agent. He didn't make the squad. He didn't beat out Meredith. I mean, is it a loss because maybe a potential for the future? Sure, but for right now,
the Webb one feels like a much bigger potential miss than.
I honestly think our secondary played pretty well.
No, we know who our
keep everyone for depth. I get that. But
we know who our starters are, but he would have been a great depth guy with a lot of starting experience. Next, we have a slight little bit of an update from Chandler Jones.
Oh boy,
A little bit of an update, kind of an update, not really, but sort of, kind of. John Gruden. This is a screenshot of a text message. John Gruden, I hope all is well, pal. Hope to see you soon. This is Chandler Jones posting and deleting. Him and his brother, Chandler and John Jones, love to post and delete for whatever reason. Chandler Jones also posted, I almost called John Gruden this morning. LOL. Wonder if I still have his cell. This was on the 10th. What is going on?
Yeah, does he know that John Gruden is Jon, not John?
Well, one, I don't feel like they make you go to school at Syracuse if you're good at football.
That's how his brother spells it, and he still got it wrong.
Right? My middle name is John with a strong H, so at least he's doing it correctly. He just didn't adjust to the situation. Right? You want that strong H in the middle.
Yep.
But this is only getting more confusing, and Chandler Jones is only making less sense. So let me get this straight. When all this shit went down, he wrote a letter and he said, basically, I feel bad and understand for Kanye West, John Jones, Antonio Brown, Alden Smith. So let me talk to John Gruden about it. And it's not like John Gruden. Does he think John Gruden's on the outs with the Raiders? Like John Gruden doesn't have anything bad to say about the Raiders. It's bad to say about Roger Goodell in the NFL.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like when you name multiple felons as guys that you think are misunderstood, that's pretty rough. And then
who never got a fair shake? Alden Smith.
Jesus Christ, man. I hope he's doing a lot better, man. I really do because he had a lot of. I mean, I heard him on the Jake Glazer podcast.
He was serving a drug suspension, and then
he beat the shit out of his chick, didn't he?
Well, no. That was another one.
That was a different time. Oh, my bad.
But this is like he's serving a drug suspension, and he does like an Instagram live of himself smoking weed. It's not like there's journalists digging through his trash cans finding used blunts. He's literally like, "Hey, world, let me incriminate myself doing the thing I'm not playing football for." And he's still got seventh and eighth chances.
He got a bunch of chances after that. He went full John Morant on that shit. But look, every time that Chandler Jones thinks he's like giving evidence to how he's being wronged, he makes himself look worse.
Yeah.
And at this point, there's only so many things you can look at and give him the benefit of the doubt, even though the evidence is pointing the other direction. And it's just been a lot of things that you're just like, and we talked about it before the show. I don't think any of the players are coming out and defending him. They're just like, yeah, man, it's in-house and that's it. Like, they're hoping that he does well, but they're like, yeah, man, he's been treated unfairly, or none of that's leaking out. So
whenever players are on their side and it's a tight locker room, they'll say, look, he's a great guy. He's my brother. I stand by him, but we're going to keep it in-house. Next question. They're skipping the first part. They're just saying, like, even the most tight-lipped guys will still kind of like, look, he's my brother. We hope it all works out, but, we're going to keep it in-house. Now it's just, no comment. No comment, officer. Hands in pockets. Walking away, kicking rocks. Nothing to see here. At this point, Chandler Jones should go like full-blown crazy. Like he needs to take a video of himself, dude. Like put like a clown hat on, riding a tricycle, like eating mayonnaise out of a jar.
Please don't do what an AB did and start jerking off in a public pool. Please.
Yeah,
don't do that.
I want things that'll be like in a Tom and Jerry cartoon as opposed to like a snuff film that'll get you arrested. Like just go all the way crazy at this point. That's probably your best way out of this. Looking for sympathy.
I mean, honestly, that might not be a bad thing for him, for like it to be perfectly clear to everybody involved, or even people who aren't involved, that yes, he's got an issue and he needs to be helped, and then maybe he'll get the help he needs. Because right now, I think he's fighting the fact, or he thinks fighting the notion that he needs help.
The other way we can go with this is a little dark, but it's football, and that's winning is all that matters. If he does do something kind of crazy and illegal. Remember, he had that incident in 2016 where he was smoking spice and like went nuts at a police department. Maybe we get some of that $50 million back. Maybe.
If you think that football hating pussy is going to give us an exemption, you're crazy.
Maybe it's part of the contract too. Maybe. I don't know.
I think that would have been exercised once he cussed out and blackmailed the fucking head coach. I think that would have been exercised by now.
We're an hour in already, so we'll save our Raiders-Bills breakdown for later in the week.
Another day.
And those are always better anyway, because then we can look at the the injury report on how it's looking. Because right now, it's really hard to tell. Because like Davante Adams didn't practice, probably just better safe than sorry type of thing, right? Jakobi Meyers, he's in concussion protocol. What's going to happen there? Jimmy G ankle. That's probably just, an abundance of caution. So we'll know that stuff later on. I'm also very curious on if the line moves. Minus 9.5. Bills favorites.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted it out. We're getting a pissed off Bills team that let one slip away. They let freaking Zach Milf Hunter Wilson go in there. And
a team that just lost to Zach Wilson is almost a 10-point favorite over a team that's 1-0. Trap game kind of feels, is that a bait? Is everyone baiting everyone?
Can you have a trap game coming off of a loss?
I mean, if they're thinking like, all right, that's never going to happen again. Short week. And still, even with that number, every single analyst at NFL Network picked the Bills. They're all pretty close, though. 28-24, 27-24. Not Gordon, 30-14. They all kind of kept it more or less close. These are the things I hold on to that I just briefly mentioned before the game. And if we lose, I never bring up again. But if we win, I tattoo it on my forehead and traipse around town.
Nobody believed in us.
Ready to do some What Windbags?
Sure, man. Let's do it.
Chris Watek, 44-24. Soto. Doesn't care what I think. Soto, I wasn't impressed with any of our rookies. Wilson was slow off the ball. Mayer got a blocking penalty, did not have one target. Byron Young did not have any push up the middle, and the rest weren't even on the field enough to notice them. It's the first game, but damn! It's a long season. Let's go and play better against the Bills.
Well, Jacorian Bennett is a rookie, and I thought he played pretty well. He had that one penalty. He got turned around once. Again, he's a rookie. He's going against receivers that are better than pretty much any receiver he went against in college. It's gonna take a little bit of time for him to get comfortable there, but I think his tackling was really good. I think that was very encouraging. He's not afraid to get his nose in there, and he put guys on the ground. So that's all positive. So I was pleasantly surprised with Jacorian Bennett's tackling. I know he was kind of a speedster, gets his hands on a lot of balls type of guy in college, but he showed that he's a tough guy and he's willing to get guys on the ground.
So one guy showed a couple of mistakes, but I think it's fair to say like kind of everyone else was just invisible. Like Wilson, Young played a very, very, very poor game. Yeah. He got pushed around a lot. Yeah. He needs to really step it up because he was if I wanted to use the word disappointing, it was going to be to Byron Young. He played very, very poorly. Of those three, Wilson, Mayer, and Young, which one do you think has the best chance of performing the soonest?
I would say Mayer.
I think Mayer could be better sooner, but I think Young is at a position of such desperation. Like I can see Josh McDaniels.
Again, he still got to perform, man. He didn't show anything. Yeah. He didn't show a damn thing. He got pushed around, and it's going to be a big problem against these running teams, man.
Yeah. But Young looked terrible. But Mayer had like big mistakes, like that penalty, didn't have a single target. And I can see them just moving on, like just letting Mayer develop and not incorporating him into the game plan. Byron Young is going to be part of it. He has no choice. There's no one else.
He's going to play a lot. He's going to
play. And he's the one that sink or swim. Mayer can be like, all right, we're just not going to game plan for you for a while until you get swing things. Michael Cyr, 3285. I totally get off reading donkey fan comments on their sites. It's sickening before the season starts and fans believe media assholes. I appreciate you censoring yourself using the 2 S of assholes, the money sign.
Signs, yeah.
Yeah, well done. Then the payoff. It's 10 times better when it's Raider week for them. Try it without commenting. Their tears are delicious. I'd always kind of like
that's poetic.
It is. It always baffles me when we'll be doing like a post-game show and like Chiefs fans will flood into our comp, like Broncos fans. There's no such thing as a Charger fan, but like Chiefs fans and Broncos fans will just like show up and talk shit. It's like your team's post shows going on right now. What are you doing here? So it's always better to tell them to fuck off.
I don't know, man. I for some weird reason, a lot of Bronco tweets have been showing up on my timeline, and
worse than a virus.
Yeah, and they're like super hanging on to like the 2 hits. Like, they're blaming Jakobi Meyers for getting knocked out. Like his foot slipped, and that's why he got hit in the head. And don't worry about Kareem Jackson like lowering his head into him. That's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. And they're saying that Jimmy G didn't get hit in the head. That he faked it.
You're gonna get a lot of sympathy from Raider fans for refs not calling shit.
Yeah, right.
That's gonna happen. Dutch Master 707. I know Soto has smashed his fair share of drunk white chicks in his time. This is a response to this photo. This was at your wedding. Happy birthday, Soto. This is the photo I posted for your birthday. And for those on the pod and not watching, this is at your wedding. Me and my then girlfriend, now wife, giving you a hug. Our Muay Thai coach and his wife on the other side. So you're surrounded by 2 very attractive men and 2 very attractive women.
It's true.
Looking like you're having the time of your life.
Yeah, that was a good time. I'm telling you, man, look, the marriage wasn't great, but that reception was fucking amazing.
So the story there was, so I was sitting at the same table as Frankie. And he's not a huge drinker, but like, Mexican wedding. We're getting hammered, right? So I give him one last. She's like, no. He kept fighting it. And he's like kind of on the verge. I'm like, take one more shot with me. He's like, okay, he takes it. Boom, he's done. We found out 3 months later she's pregnant. And she goes to me, he's like, RJ, it was that last shot.
That last shot put him over. He called me up once he found out that he's like, hey, man, you owe me some money. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, your fucking reception, it got me a kid. And I'm like, hey, man.
It's like in hockey when you can have 2 assists on a goal. I feel like we had 2 assists. Both of us. Yeah, 2 assists.
It's my fault. It's my fault for giving you guys such delicious tequila. It was that reposado with the orange and the cinnamon. That's what did it.
Yeah, man. That was the hangover the next day too.
Oh, so that sweet. That orange, sweet. All that sugar.
Oh, mixing a water, Clifford. I never listen. Couple other comments on that photo at Raider 1961. Soto, happy birthday. Take it slow, buddy. I like how he's knows you so well. And Top 3 Entertainment. How old is this picture?
That picture is 11 years old from 2012.
I feel like we haven't aged a day.
I mean, I look very similar.
Another guy in the comments was like, I was trying to look for Soto because I was looking for a guy with a hat. I didn't recognize you without your hat on. That would have been next level if you wore a Raider hat to your own wedding. Right.
I mean, this is pre-car accident, so I didn't have to wear glasses then. Mm. And I had a little bit gray in the beard now. I didn't have that gray back then.
That was a hell of a party.
That was a great party, man.
That's it for us. Again, we will keep you abreast of the Chandler Jones situation, the Jakobi Meyers concussion protocol, all the major storylines throughout the rest of the week. Definitely will do a Bills-Raiders preview show this week as we get closer to this weekend. It's regular season, baby. It is all football, man. All the time. Off to a great start. Number 1 in the AFC West, standing alone on top of the pyramid. And we got the Bills. I like how we're sitting. I like how a team that just played in Denver, that's playing in Buffalo, that lives in Vegas, is spending the week training in West Virginia.
It's smart, actually. You get used to the time schedule. Get used to the.
But there's nothing closer to Buffalo where it's like similar weather, because for me, I'm not a professional football player, but one of the big things for me is like if it's a dry climate, wet climate, humid, arid, that's a big difference for me.
I'm thinking it's pretty humid in West Virginia right now. I think it's pretty humid over there.
Is Buffalo the same thing?
Yeah, it's
maybe I'm overthinking it.
It gets colder faster over there because it's so north. It's like from Long Beach to Orange County. That's there in Canada. It's like right there.
That's my point. Is like the air has got to be different.
It's still humid as fuck right now over there. The whole East Coast.
It's just weird to me. I get it. You're on the East Coast, but you're so far. Whatever. If we get the W, it's not going to matter. Until then, not going to live here with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.